I think that communities around hardcore punk and heavy metal have an old school charm where people often get together at local concerts, meet one another, hang out. And there's something really healthy and human about that I think is really good. So in that respect, yeah, the world does need more noise. Yeah, I mean, the biggest roadblock to this record getting done wasn't even the touring, it was just the pandemic, which was like this massive kind of workflow changer. You know, like the ways that we used to work on things got completely transformed in the context of having to like stay at home and not see one another. And we didn't really do much touring during the pandemic at all. So in that time, we were super busy with writing. And it did give us the opportunity to actually be super productive and to create, I think, like, 20, 25 demos that we must have now. And then from there, we were able to pick and choose the ones that we wanted to take forward onto this album. In that respect, the pandemic was productive, even if a little bit strange. We struggle with titles sometimes, to be honest. Sometimes they come to us, but sometimes we really struggle. In this case, the title was already the title of the song. So there's a track on the record that is also titled that, and that's where it came from. It was a song about that feeling or that sense of not being able to find the words for something. As an instrumental band, mostly, I suppose we want to try and evoke something like that in our music as well, where we can create a kind of emotional Rorschach test, like those ink blots, and have people interpret what they interpret from the music without us needing to necessarily describe everything all the time. So that's really the spirit of the album title. I think at its heavy moments, it's definitely like the kind of hypnotic, slow outro of Super Realm. Like when we play that live, there's just going to be so much low-end information in the room. And same as All Hail Skull, like that opening synth. So we're kind of excited about getting more intentional with how things are going to feel in the live room, like in the venue. So I guess, yeah, on some respect, it's heavy. I think some of the early stuff that the band did back like 10, 20, or 15 years ago with the really low baritone guitars, you could say is like also pretty heavy. But I think production-wise and kind of songwriting-wise, this stuff now is definitely up there. But in terms of the record itself, it's sort of out of our hands, and I hope that people do respond in that way, and I think that's really cool. And if it brings about a kind of set of images or a movie scene or whatever that might be for people, that's the magic that maybe I can't experience now that I've spent my time working on it, but that you can experience. And that's something cool about music. This is a strange example, but I was watching this TV show called BoJack Horseman, and this really weird show about a really sad horse kind of man who's depressed because he's like washed up. But it's actually a really amazing, beautiful show, and I think a incredible meditation on like happiness and unhappiness and the things we put in front of ourselves to stop us from being happy. I do love movies. I'm a huge fan, and so I go out and see them all the time. But it's often that they exist in kind of different parts of my life, where I've got my kind of music stuff, which is often inspired by real stuff that happens to me. It's definitely not easy music, right? Like it's not going to be as instantly rewarding. It doesn't have the sugar hit of the kind of weaponized pop music that you get these days, which I also dig for its own reasons, but this is something a little deeper. I think as an album, one of the things about it is that it's very eclectic. You can listen to the whole album, and I think that's a great thing to do, and I think it's quite complete as a work, and that's probably the best way to do it. But, these days people listen in so many different ways. If you're on the train and you're going to work and you've only got time to listen to some, then just listen to some. And if you just want to listen to one song, then do that. I think however the music can fit into people's lives, as long as the audio environment is decent, like it wouldn't sound good coming out of your phone speakers. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I think as long as you've got some decent headphones and some decent speakers, however much time you have to give to Sleep Makes Waves, we will appreciate. But I think if you want to be making a name for yourself in post-rock these days, or in any genre, and it doesn't really have to be specific to this, it's about trying to find your own pathway. And if you have influences, trying to sort of triangulate them into something new and take what you like from bands, but constantly be looking forward with one eye on being original and doing something in your own way. I think the minute that you stop and try to imitate something that's already successful, it's too late and that wave will pass. It's kind of a bit of luck, and it's really hard to start out as a band in this day and age. And I sympathize with everyone who does, because you're expected to work so much harder and be good at so many more things, whilst at the same time getting paid so much less. It's really tough material conditions to be an artist. But I would just say focus on your art rather than any hopes and dreams of getting famous or successful, because you probably won't. Let's be honest, like, we've been doing this for 15 years and I still have to work a day job. This is like a glorified hobby for me. But one thing that we can control is trying to release music that moves us, that makes something, that means something to us, and that represents a step forward in the band. You know, it's one of the places we've never been so far. We've been a lot around the world. We've been to the United States, to China, to Europe, to India, and around Australia, obviously, but we've never been to South America. So, dude, I would love to come at some point if we can figure something out. And I hope that we will one day. I think it's totally possible that we'll get our shit together and get all the way to South America at some point.